Good morning and welcome to my video. For this piece I wanted to show a little bit of how I actually work with a reference drawing. Now this one in particular I relied very heavily on the reference for the pose and position. My reliance on the reference will be different. You can see in the last one I didn't use a reference image at all, but for this one I really wanted to capture this particular pose. So I used it to trace over for my blue lines and then did the rest of the drawing independent of the reference, except for a few things like positioning of the ear, positioning of the neck, stuff like that. But for the most part, the reference was used to create the blue lines, which is my skeleton on which I built the actual character. If you look back and see some of my other videos, you'll see I did an extra step in this one. Typically I don't do a intermediate line step. I do blue lines and then I go straight to my line art. But in this case, I really wanted to get that skeleton down from the reference piece, and then since it is a bit of an odd angle, I wanted to get the character down with another set of blue lines. Of course, in this case, they're green, before I went ahead and did the line art. So when I did the line art, I stuck pretty closely to the green lines. I did add a few details that I didn't have in the green lines, but I didn't stray too far from my initial line art. And yeah, so for this one, I also worked with a restricted color palette. I tried to do 3 colors. So the last video I did a square palette, which gives you 4 colors to work with. So this time I wanted to try something a little bit more challenging, so I tried to do a an analogous color palette. And I think I did alright. You can see the color palette in the top left corner of the drawing. I keep clicking back and forward to it every now and then. It's meant to be 2 bluish colors and then a green color. So the only 2 colors that really deviate from that are her skin and her hair, and a little bit the trim on her coat. The trim on her coat is really a very yellowy green, which is sort of cheating, as the green that is part of the palette is more that dark forest green of the coat. But her trim is meant to be gold, so I really wanted it to be yellow. So I cheated a bit. Her trim and her hair are not within the color palette, but I did shade over it using the dark blue, which is definitely part of the color palette, and I think that helped bring in the whole color cohesion together again. But yeah, I was disappointed that I wasn't able to stick closely to my color palette, as that had been the challenge I'd set for myself. Conceptually wise, this was actually the idea I had for the cover art for Mountain Divide, which is my webcomic, and I'll link that in the description. But this was the initial cover art I had for Chapter 1, the initial concept, and I decided not to go with it because the secondary character, Lily, who actually hasn't appeared in the series yet but is going to be showing up very soon, was very important, and I wanted her to be in the cover art. So even though I think this would be really good if the story was just all about this character, Mia, it didn't work with the series overall because it's not all about her. So but I've played with this idea a lot, so I'm very familiar with what I wanted to do here. So it went pretty quickly. It was more so to practice the color palette than anything else, and I like how it turned out, and I'm very happy with it. But like I said, I wish I'd stuck to the color palette a little bit more closely. In the future, when I set myself my challenge next, I will try and be more true to the palette that I give myself. But this is only my second attempt to work within a restricted palette, so I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Thanks for watching. Like I said, if you want to read all about her story, I will link it in the description below. Have a nice day.